Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new Disney real live adaptation of a 1937 classic, what I seen the animated 90s version of it when they sort of remastered it, which is of course Snow White. And Snow White mainly starred Rachel Zegler, who of course portrayed the infamous Disney princess Snow White herself, and Gal Gadot, who portrayed the evil queen. And of course, before even going into this movie was having a ton of backlash just from stuff that Rachel Zegler was doing in real life. So in this review I'm going to try to I'm not going to be biased towards that controversy. I'm just going to rate this movie as the way it is. And quite frankly, Rachel Zegler is actually a really good singer, and she's even a pretty good actor for the most part, but for me she did not fit this role of Snow White. I mean, the name White is literally in the name of Snow White, and she was always known as that from the classic for being as pale. Her skin was pale and white as snow. Of course, Rachel Zegler is a little bit of a colored woman. I believe she's Latina, but forgive me if I'm wrong about her background, but either way, they do sort of explain that in this movie in a way that actually does make sense. But I still think that if you're going to adapt such a loved and cherished and beloved character such as Snow White, and you're going to bring this real live Disney princess to life, in live action, then I think you should try to stay as close to the original as you possibly can. I also think that Gal Gadot, who portrays the evil queen, was really badly and poorly cast, especially if Rachel Zegler is going to be the main character, the quote-unquote princess, when in reality Gal Gadot is far more attractive than Rachel Zegler. And so I really feel like it was a miscast because obviously anyone who is familiar with the traditional story excuse me, knows that throughout the story, the evil queen looks at the mirror and she says, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest one of them all?" And of course, when Gal Gadot says that, portraying her version of the evil queen, and and this mirror is saying that Rachel Zegler, Snow White, is actually the fairest, it's almost not believable, because it's like, I don't know about that. Gal Gadot is probably still the fairest woman amongst them all. So I don't know if I would believe so much. I don't know if I would be able to buy into the fact that Gal Gadot is this sort of ugly, evil, torn down evil queen, when she's quite frankly really better looking than Rachel Zegler. So I think the casting in this movie was really, really done poorly. Now, in terms of the story itself and the acting and the performances, Rachel is a phenomenal singer. She has the vocal cords to be able to hit the notes, to be able to sing like most of the Disney characters, most of the Disney princesses specifically. Most of them can sing, and Rachel Zegler is no exception to that. In terms of her singing ability, she does a really great job, definitely better than Gal Gadot. So she's a much better singer, but she's probably not as good looking as Gal Gadot. So, this once again is kind of a very mixed-matched cast. It was a really poor casting choice in my opinion. But anyways, she's a really great singer, so whenever she does sing the, some of the signs in the story, she does a great job. She really does. She got a great voice and all that stuff. And I would even I think there's even a pretty fair argument to be made that maybe even the first 30, for me, I mean, these things are subjective, but for me, the first 30 to 40 minutes were actually really good. And when I was watching this movie, I was like, wow, I don't really know why this movie was getting so much hate. For the first 30 to 40 minutes, I was thoroughly enjoying it, and I was like, man, this movie is not as bad as I thought it would be. The characters are not cast as bad as they were. We got the introduction to the 7 dwarves, which obviously were very animated and very CGI, but they were pretty fun, and it was great to hear them sing, "Hi ho, it's off to work we go," and that really brought back a lot of nostalgia for me from the 90s, and it was just really cool to see that and hear that, even though they looked super fake. But at the end of the day, it is a Disney movie, so if you can really attach to the animated version, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to attach to these CGI little dwarfs. And excuse me, I apologize, I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is not 100%. So we meet the dwarves, and from that point on really is when the movie starts to go down. So for the first 30 to 40 minutes, I thought this movie was phenomenal, with the exception of the cast. Gal Gadot should not have been the evil queen, and she should not have been that good looking if you're going to cast Rachel Zegler, to be this fairest princess of them all. To me, the role should have almost been reversed. I mean, Gal Gadot was far more fair than Rachel Zegler, but you get what I'm saying. Very mixed match cast. But then once we get past the seven dwarfs and the introduction of them, you start to get introduced to all these other characters, these seven, I can't even remember what they call them in the movie, like these seven huntsmen, or these, whatever they are, these people, bandits, whatever they are. And then for me, the movie really started to fall off and just go down quick. So after the 30 or 40 minute mark, for me, the movie just kept going down and down and down and down, to the point where I almost found the movie unbearable, especially at the very end of it. Like, you see all the characters dancing in white, and I was just kind of scratching my head trying to figure out, like, really what's even going on here. So for the first 30 to 40 minutes, I thought it was very true, really true adaptation to the original, with the exceptions of really bad casting, but it was still pretty true to the original. But then once we met the seven dwarfs, and it sort of moves into the, halfway through the second act, we'll say, or even the end of the second act into the third act, so to speak, less than halfway through the movie for me started to really go down quick, to the point where I actually started to find myself being annoyed, and I was just thinking to myself, like, wow, it had such a strong start, such a strong opening. What happened? Why did they decide to go this route? Who are all these weird characters that don't even make sense, that don't even need to be there? Who are they? Why are they there? And why do I even need to care about them? Some of these characters end up doing stuff in the movie, and it's almost like Disney expects you to cheer for them, to be like, yeah, good for you guys, but it's like, we don't even know them. Who cares? From my recollection, I don't even remember them from the original project, so I don't know what that whole thing was about, and I think it was a really poor choice creatively, and it was just a really bad choice. All they had to do was take the animated version of Snow White and just translate it to live action. Now, I know animation, you can do more with animation than what you can with live action, but you get what I'm saying. Story-wise, all they had to do was copy and paste and just make their characters, cast their characters better. So for me, by the time I got through this movie, I was practically pulling out my hair, which is so sad, because I loved the first 30 minutes or 40 minutes of the movie, and then it just went down fast, to the point where I would have to say that Snow White was absolutely a fail, and it was not enjoyable, and it was not a true adaptation of the original story. It was miscast, misplaced, it was poorly written, it tried to be bigger than what it should have been, and it made too many changes to the original where it was almost not even recognizable by the time you see the very end and the conclusion and the third act of the movie. So for me, it was a fail, and unfortunately this was not a win, and honestly, if I had my time back, I would not force myself to sit through this again. I'll never watch it again, and I will never recommend someone like yourself to watch this as well. So with that being said, folks, that's my review of Snow White. Let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button. We're almost at 200 subscribers. I'd like to be able to hit 500 by the end of the summer, but it's probably not going to happen, but hopefully we can, and all that good stuff. And with all that being said, folks, thank you very much for watching, and until the next video, take care.